How to improve your English speaking, a journey. Once upon a time, there was a young woman named Sarah who lived in a small, bustling town. Growing up, Sarah always admired the people she saw in movies and on television who could speak English fluently and confidently. She knew that learning English would open up a world of possibilities for her. She could make new friends, find a better job, and even travel to faraway lands she had only dreamed of. With this in mind, Sarah decided to improve her English-speaking skills. The journey was not going to be easy, but Sarah was determined. She started by setting a simple goal: practice a little every day. She knew that the key to mastering anything was consistency. At first, she felt shy about speaking English, even with her own family. She worried about making mistakes or sounding silly. But soon, she realized that practice makes perfect, and she had to get comfortable with making mistakes if she wanted to grow. To begin, Sarah would stand in front of her mirror every morning and have a pretend conversation. She would smile at her reflection and say, "Hello, how are you?" Sometimes she would pretend to be someone she admired, a news anchor or an actress, and imagine herself in different scenarios. Practicing like this made Sarah feel more confident, and over time, she noticed that she started speaking English without thinking too much about it. Sarah realized that to get better, she needed to immerse herself in English as much as possible. So, she began to listen to English every single day. She watched English movies, starting with those that had subtitles so she could understand the dialogues better. She would pause and repeat interesting phrases until she could say them just like the actors. Sometimes, she even mimicked their tone and accent, imagining herself in the scenes. Sarah also began listening to English songs. She fell in love with the music of the Beatles and Taylor Swift. She would listen to their songs on repeat, writing down the lyrics and singing along. Music became an amazing teacher for Sarah, helping her with pronunciation and teaching her new words. One day, she even sang her favorite song for her friends, and though she made a few mistakes, they all applauded her effort. Sarah felt proud. This was another step in her journey. She didn't stop there. Sarah began tuning into the English news every morning. At first, the words sounded fast and complicated, but she kept at it. Each day, she understood a little bit more. Listening to the news not only improved her comprehension skills but also gave her interesting topics to discuss with others. Another thing Sarah loved was reading. She started with children's books because they were easy to understand and full of colorful illustrations. Stories like The Very Hungry Caterpillar and Charlotte's Web became her favorites. She would read out loud, pronouncing each word carefully, and whenever she came across a word she didn't know, she would look it up in her dictionary and write it down in her notebook. As time went on, she graduated to magazines and even short novels. She found a magazine that focused on travel, and it became her favorite because it combined two of her passions, learning English and dreaming about different countries. Sarah would read articles about places like Paris, New York, and Tokyo, imagining herself walking through the streets of these incredible cities. Reading aloud was a daily ritual. It not only improved her pronunciation but also made her more comfortable with the rhythm of the language. She would sit in her room and read to her little brother, who loved the stories she told. This made Sarah realize that she was not just learning for herself, she was also inspiring those around her. To further enhance her skills, Sarah decided to start writing in English. She bought a beautiful diary with a colorful cover and began writing about her day. Today, I woke up early and practiced speaking English in front of the mirror, she wrote. At first, her sentences were simple, but as her vocabulary grew, so did the complexity of her writing. Sarah also tried her hand at writing stories. She wrote about a magical forest where animals could talk and about a young girl who traveled to the moon. Writing allowed her to use her imagination and experiment with the new words she was learning. She enjoyed creating worlds and characters, and she loved seeing her progress on the pages of her diary. To connect with others, Sarah even began writing letters to her friends. They would write back, correcting her mistakes and encouraging her to keep going. It felt wonderful to see her efforts being appreciated, and it motivated her to keep learning. Of course, there were times when Sarah felt frustrated. She made mistakes, and sometimes she couldn't find the right words to express herself. But Sarah knew that mistakes were part of the learning process. Instead of feeling discouraged, she embraced her errors as opportunities to learn. Whenever she didn't understand something, she would ask her teacher or her friends for help. They were always patient with her, correcting her gently and explaining things in a way she could understand. One of Sarah's biggest challenges was pronunciation. English words didn't always sound the way they were spelled, and this confused her. Words like knife and island were especially tricky. But Sarah found ways to improve. She used online resources and watched videos that showed how to pronounce difficult words. She would stand in front of her mirror and practice, exaggerating the movements of her mouth until she got it right. Sarah also faced the challenge of speaking fluently. She often paused to think about what she wanted to say, and this made her conversation slow and awkward. But then her teacher gave her a great piece of advice: think in English. At first, this seemed impossible. How could she think in a language she was still learning? But she started small, thinking simple thoughts like, I am hungry, or, this is my book. Gradually, thinking in English became more natural, and she noticed that her speaking improved. One day, Sarah decided to join an English class. It was a big step, but she knew it was the right one. In class, she met other students who were also learning English, and this made her feel less alone. They practiced together, and Sarah found it comforting to know that others were facing the same challenges as she was. The class was a lot of fun. They played games, acted out dialogues, and even put on short plays. Sarah loved the role-playing activities because they allowed her to use English in real-life situations. She also loved asking questions. Her teacher was always encouraging, telling her that every question she asked brought her closer to fluency. Sarah also made friends who were fluent in English. They would meet at a cafe and talk about different things: school, movies, their dreams for the future. Talking to them helped Sarah learn more about how English was used in daily life. She learned new expressions and idioms that made her sound more natural. Her friends would gently correct her mistakes, and she appreciated their help. Through these conversations, Sarah also learned a lot about different cultures. One of her friends, Emily, was from England, and she told Sarah about British customs, food, and festivals. Another friend, John, was from the United States, and he shared stories about life in New York City. Sarah loved hearing about their experiences, and it made her even more excited to travel one day. Sarah knew that to keep improving, she needed to set goals for herself. She decided to learn 5 new words every day and practice speaking for at least 10 minutes. She wrote her new words on sticky notes and put them around her room, on her mirror, her desk, even on the refrigerator. This way, she would see them often and remember to use them. Every time she reached her goal, Sarah would reward herself. Sometimes she would treat herself to her favorite dessert, a delicious slice of chocolate cake. Other times, she would allow herself an hour to watch her favorite movie. These small rewards made learning fun and kept her motivated. One day, after months of practice, Sarah found herself in a situation where she had to use all the English she had learned. A group of tourists had come to her town, and they looked lost. Sarah knew she had to help them. She walked up to them, her heart pounding, and asked, "Can I help you?" They smiled and explained that they were looking for a nearby museum. Sarah gave them directions in English, speaking clearly and confidently. The tourists thanked her, and one of them said, "Your English is very good." Sarah couldn't believe it. All her hard work had paid off. She had spoken in English, helped someone, and they had understood her perfectly. From that day on, Sarah felt unstoppable. She continued to practice every day, setting new goals and pushing herself further. She knew that learning a language was a lifelong journey, but she was ready for it. She was ready to travel, to make new friends from all over the world, and to take on any challenge that came her way. Sarah's journey taught her that patience, perseverance, and a willingness to make mistakes were the keys to success. She realized that learning English was not just about speaking another language, it was about connecting with others, understanding different cultures, and growing as a person. And so, with her newfound confidence, Sarah set off on her adventures, ready to explore the world and make her dreams come true. The sky was the limit, and she was reaching for the stars.